Hello there guys, and welcome. It is Niran here, and today it is time for me to bring you episode number 12 of our Sainz career mode here on F1 2015. Now, it's been a while, I know, since the last F1 video in general. I did an update video talking about my motivation when it came to F1, so hopefully you guys have seen that. If you haven't, it's in the description below, and hopefully I'll be able to get some more sprint mode to you guys, especially over the next few weeks. But nevertheless, we are in sunny Italy for today's round 12 of the season, after a pretty disappointing result for Sainz last time out, where he finished 16th after a fantastic race. A puncture on the final lap unfortunately costing him there. But before we see what happens in this race, let's get into the qualifying report. Lewis Hamilton would be fastest in the first session from Ferrari's Kimi Raikkonen. Carlos Sainz just scraped through in 15th after setting only one lap, whilst Daniel Kvyat was eliminated in a very disappointing 18th on prime tyres. Ferrari would claim a 1-2 in Q2 as Mercedes coasted through to the shootout on prime tyres. Felipe Nasr impressed in 5th place, whilst Daniel Ricciardo was only 13th and misses out on Q3 for the first time since joining Red Bull. An incredibly tight shootout would see Lewis Hamilton take pole, however, by 14 1/1000ths of a second from teammate Nico Rosberg. Williams were impressive, taking 3rd and 4th, whilst Kimi Raikkonen struggled to 9th in front of the Tifosi. However, Felipe Nasr was the star of the show, taking a fantastic 5th place for Sauber. Reading from 10th place upwards, it's Sergio Perez and Kimi Raikkonen occupying row 5, with Verstappen and Sainz on an all-Toro Rosso row 4. Nasr took a fantastic 5th place in front of Sebastian Vettel, but Lewis Hamilton would take pole in front of Nico Rosberg for the Italian Grand Prix. So a pretty crazy qualifying session, to be honest with you, with some fantastic surprises in terms of people going out early or people doing well. Felipe Nasr starting up in 5th place on the grid, 7th and 8th for the two Toro Rossos, both outperforming the two Red Bulls. Not sure if that's happened yet this season. I'm sure I'll see whether that's happened in the comment section below. But nevertheless, yeah, pretty poor day for Red Bull. Daniel Ricciardo down in 13th place, the first time he's not gone into Q3 for Red Bull in one of my career modes, and Daniel Kvyat down in 18th. His poor qualifying this season continues. As you can see though on the screen at the moment is the strategy. We're looking at a 2-stopper this time, starting on the option tyres, which we were using in Q2, and then moving on to another set of options for stop 1, and then primes for the final stint of the race. But we are now on the grid. 5 lights are now on here for the Italian Grand Prix in Monza, and they are now out. We are underway just behind Max Verstappen there in 7th place. Fantastic qualifying for the two Toro Rossos, but behind us a fantastic start for Perez and the returning Kimi Raikkonen, or recovering Kimi Raikkonen, after a poor qualifying. We lunge up the inside of Max Verstappen. Perez, though, making contact with us on the outside as he was trying to squeeze up the inside of the German Sebastian Vettel in that Ferrari. But a good start overall from Sainz, gone from 8th to 6th. 8th on the grid to 6th going through the first few corners. Felipe Nasr maintaining his fantastic 5th place in that Sauber, as Sergio Perez and Vettel go alongside each other through the Curva Grande. Bottas is going up the inside of Rosberg, though. Hamilton's galloped away in the distance because Felipe Massa has actually managed to get past the second, the Mercedes of Nico Rosberg, and he now slots in behind Valtteri Bottas. So an appalling start for Nico Rosberg, starting second on the grid, and he's down in 4th place by the halfway mark of this first lap. Felipe Nasr waiting in the wings there in the Sauber as well, and then we find ourselves here, Carlos Sainz in the Toro Rosso up in 6th place, heading down towards Ascari. Sebastian Vettel managed to get past Perez around the outside through Lesmo 2. Perez certainly looking for his first points this season as well. It's a very good opportunity for him to do so, as Sainz gets very out of shape and has to go across the grass there through Ascari. Nothing too major there being hurt in terms of time or track position. He's still sitting in 6th place. The two Williams are going alongside each other there through the Parabolica, only gifting more time to Lewis Hamilton up in front. Nevertheless, we're alongside Felipe Nasr here, who swerves to the inside. What was that about? Felipe Nasr. We'd got alongside each other there. Sainz got a fantastic exit out of Parabolica and got up the inside, and Nasr just swerved towards the wall, and Sainz doing a fantastic job to not actually plough into the pit wall. He goes up the inside, down into turn 1, but outbrakes himself, and Nasr gets through on the overlap, or the undercut, if you like, the cutback, and is now back up into 5th place. But through the Curva Grande, Sainz got the slipstream, trying to go round the outside, so close there, kicking up a little bit of grass there like Vettel back in 2013, but goes up the inside, down into the second chicane, and finally makes it past Felipe Nasr up into 5th place. But look at this, you can see in slow motion, Nasr just for some reason swerving to the inside. Sainz gets spooked by it, has to go to the right there, or swerve to the right, and just narrowly avoids hitting the pit wall. Meanwhile, in front of these guys, or in front of Sainz and Nasr, battling down the front straight, we've got a three-way battle going on between Nico Rosberg and the two Williams, and Nico Rosberg getting increasingly annoyed, I would imagine, sat behind both of those two Williams cars as he sees his teammate just gallop off into the distance, and it's seen Carlos Sainz be able to stay with these battling three cars in front of him. Otherwise, they probably would have taken off into the distance. As Bottas goes up the inside of Massa, going through Ascari, Sebastian Vettel has now attached himself to the back end of Sainz, having followed him through past Felipe Nasr. And as you can see, Sainz got a fantastic run on Nico Rosberg after the two Williams cars held each other up there, down into the Parabolica. Massa goes defensive on Sainz, so he backs out of the move up the inside of the two Williams cars, but does manage to slot in front of Nico Rosberg, who now drops to 5th place. Fastest lap of the race for the unchallenged Lewis Hamilton. Meanwhile, Valtteri Bottas is going to get DRS on his teammate. He goes to the inside, but Sainz is getting a fantastic run on both of them. He's going to go up to the inside, make it 3 abreast, down into turn 1 here on lap 4. Up the inside he goes, locks up there, gives the space to the two Williams cars. Does it end well? No, it doesn't, because Bottas is spun round by his teammate, and it's an absolute disaster for Williams. Going through the first corner, we'll see on board from a few different cars. This is on board with Nico Rosberg. There you can see going 3 abreast. Does Sainz leave enough space? 3 cars down into that one chicane was never going to work. But as you can see, yeah, Massa just doesn't really... I think Massa should duck out of that move. And in the end, he gets squeezed across there by Valtteri Bottas, and Bottas comes out of it much worse. We're actually on board here with Nico Hülkenberg, who, whilst there's a bit of a pile-up going through the first chicane there, as Felipe Nasr actually followed Bottas into the gravel in a completely separate incident. Nasr just went off as well, which has sort of ruined his race slightly. And Hülkenberg's just managed to side his way through, and he's up into about 6th or 7th place in the Force India. So very good stuff from him, but down into the chicane, and looking back, and having done all that hard work, his engine's given up on him. So Nico Hülkenberg, having passed all of those cars through that melee that caused by the accident between Massa, Bottas and Nico Rosberg, or Carlos Sainz as well, I suppose, being involved, his engine's given up on him, his power unit's given up on him, and he's out of the race. So that's unfortunate for Nico Hülkenberg. But as you can see, after that accident between Bottas and Massa, it's not really prevented any sort of battling, because now that's really benefited Kimi Räikkönen, who's managed to now get with this sort of gaggle for the major points positions and also podium places. And as you can see, Kimi Räikkönen there is at the front of this gaggle, and he's got Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas, and Felipe Massa and Nico Rosberg there battling with him. So these guys sort of tripping each other up, and it's helping Sainz get away. Meanwhile, the unchallenged leader here, Lewis Hamilton, is going into the Parabolica, but that's smoke coming out of the back of his Mercedes power unit. And what is going on with the Mercedes engines today? Nico Hülkenberg is out, but out of the lead goes Lewis Hamilton, and that has given Sainz, would you believe, who was second, a net second, after that spin for Valtteri Bottas, assisted by his teammate Massa. That's given him a net lead, or it would have done had he not come into the pit lane on the same lap that it happened. So Lewis Hamilton is out of the race. Absolutely astonishing stuff, and it's gifted Carlos Sainz a net lead. He's got the gaggle of 4 behind him, being Nico Rosberg, Kimi Räikkönen, Sebastian Vettel and Felipe Massa. They are sort of 2nd to 5th, out of the pit lane on prime tyres, so a slight change up to the strategy here for Carlos Sainz. He was meant to go on to options, but he's decided to stick on a set of primes, and he's down into turn 1 in 12th place. But of course, as I said earlier, in a net first position after the retirement for Lewis Hamilton. So he's managed to scythe his way through that gaggle of cars, being Vettel, the two Williams and Rosberg, as well as Nasr and Verstappen at the start. And then obviously the retirement for Lewis Hamilton has seen him now in a net lead as a few cars come into the pit lane in front of him. He also breezes past Daniel Kvyat, who's on an old set of option tyres there down the start-finish straight, and that puts him into 8th outright on the track. Few more cars coming into the pit lane as we start lap 9, and he moves up into 3rd place. I think there's a McLaren in front that stayed out, and also Nico Rosberg, who actually started the race on primes, given he actually managed to get through Q2 on prime tyres. So he's actually on the prime tyres, hence he's a little bit out of sync from everyone else. Jenson Button is really hyper-extending his first stint but he's been breezed past down towards Ascari by Carlos Sainz, who's on those new prime tyres, onto lap 9, which has put Sainz into second place on the track, but that will become first place when Nico Rosberg comes in, because of course Sainz has got a fantastic undercut on Nico Rosberg, who started the race on those prime tyres. But a fantastic race this so far for Carlos Sainz, and a podium is very, very much on the cards. Moving on to lap 12, and Nico Rosberg is in the pit lane, and hence Sainz is breezing through into the leader. Sebastian Vettel actually sets the fastest lap of the race. A few laps later, and Nico Rosberg on the option tyres has managed to catch up to the two Ferraris here of Kimi Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel, and has lunged up the inside of the two of them through the parabolica, and actually Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen, their interlocking wheels through the parabolica, is allowed Nico Rosberg through, and also allowed him to gallop away from these guys. He's got to make the most of the fact that Lewis Hamilton is retired, because there's exactly 25 points between them in the championship. So if he wins, having seen Lewis Hamilton retire already, they'll be equal in points in the Drivers' Championship. But as you can see, we've got Vettel and Raikkonen alongside each other, and Felipe Massa just breezes along the outside of them there after that interlocking wheel incident there between the two Ferraris through the parabolica, slowed them up, and Felipe Massa was easily able to breeze past them. On to lap 17, and Sainz is in again, so he's not going to be able to run the option tyres in this last stint because they simply wouldn't go to the end. So yet again, tyre wear seeming to be a problem here for the young Spaniard, because he's having to do 2 prime stints in this race. Kimi Raikkonen also following him in the background, as well as Valtteri Bottas in the Williams, who is trying to recover after that spin down at turn 1 earlier on after the coming together with his teammate Felipe Massa. I imagine the Williams hierarchy are having kittens after the accident, but it seems as if Bottas has managed to recover slightly. On to lap 18, the next lap, and after getting the undercut, Sainz is easily able to get in front of Massa and Vettel, and of course Raikkonen and Bottas, who pitted on the same lap as him, skipping forward quite a few laps. And as you can see, given that the rest of the guys are on prime tyres as well, but they're obviously in quicker cars, Kimi Raikkonen, Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas now, not Felipe Massa, who's dropped off the back of these guys, unfortunately for him. I don't know if he's got some sort of performance issue, but Raikkonen and his teammate Vettel, as well as the Williams of Valtteri Bottas, have managed to slipstream each other, basically DRS each other to the back end of Carlos Sainz, because Sainz is now under massive amounts of pressure with 4 laps of this race to go. Kimi Raikkonen practically can smell the tyre burning smell coming off the back end of that Sainz car as he burns his tyres going through each right and left corner. Bottas there in the middle of the two Ferraris, so somewhat of a Williams sandwich there, a Williams filling there to the Ferrari sandwich. But down in through this second DRS zone, or DRS activation zone, down towards Ascari, and Raikkonen has got a fantastic run here on Carlos Sainz, and down towards Ascari, tries to go around the outside, he's outbroken himself there slightly, and Sainz will now try and get around the outside through the middle of Ascari, which becomes the inside through the exit of Ascari, and makes his move stick and through back up into second place. But he's going to have a very tricky job, I think, holding off these guys till the end of the race, as Valtteri Bottas is trying to get around the outside here of Raikkonen down towards the parabolica, and Raikkonen, having gone a little bit wide there on exit out of Ascari, has gifted Sainz a little bit of track position in terms of he's managed to sort of extend about 2 seconds. But as you can see, very close there between the guys behind. Yellow flags around. That's because Kimi Raikkonen has had an absolutely massive accident there going on to the start-finish straight. We'll have to see what happened there, because it was a little bit hard to tell from our angle because we were so far in front. But as you can see, we're on board with Sebastian Vettel going 3 abreast there, with Raikkonen and Bottas on our outside going through the parabolica. Raikkonen gets squeezed and he loses it and smacks into the pit lane wall, and then gets clobbered by Felipe Massa on the way through. So a massive accident there. This is on board with Kimi Raikkonen. Just too much contact between them. He hits the pit wall and then gets absolutely smacked into by the Brazilian there, Felipe Massa, and that is a massive accident which has completely ruined both their races. New front wings needed. I'm surprised neither of them retired, to be fair, but new front wings will be needed for Massa and Raikkonen, and now neither of them will be staying in the points or scoring any points from today's race. Felipe Massa seriously struggling with a lack of downforce, going off at Ascari and being hit by Daniel Ricciardo. Max Verstappen manages to sneak his way through, and that's now Daniel Ricciardo's race ruined as well, because he's lost his front wing too. So absolute carnage is descending here on Italy, here at Monza. That's 3 cars now with no chance of points, and 3 cars that are actually fairly close to Sainz in the championship, and that you would expect to score a lot of points on a usual day like today. So one of the Ferraris out here at their home Grand Prix, but Bottas is trying to get past Sainz there down the start-finish straight, and he's got a puncture as he was making the move on Sainz. Of all the things to happen What are the chances? Carlos Sainz, though, manages to gallop away in the end. The yellow flag's out there as well, and we're just falling like flies here. There was a gaggle of 5, and it's become a gaggle of 2 now, because Raikkonen, Massa and Bottas have all been wiped out of this race, not to mention Daniel Ricciardo's incident as well. And now we are literally left with Carlos Sainz and with Sebastian Vettel. But my goodness me, what a crash that was for Raikkonen and Felipe Massa. Just astonishing stuff here in this battle for the podium places. Just to add to the mix even more, it's actually started raining here, which means quite a lot less grip, as you can see from Sainz getting it all wrong on the exit of Ascari, and it's allowed Sebastian Vettel to breeze up to the back of him, down towards the parabolica, and around the outside he goes. But crucially, Vettel was ahead going through the DRS activation zone, which means Carlos Sainz will get DRS down this home straight, which is vital because that will keep him on terms with Sebastian Vettel. Of course, the Tifosi to the left-hand side will be crying out for Sebastian Vettel to take the second place, but Sainz is doing all he can to prevent it, and he dive bombs up the inside, down into the first corner. They're locking his brakes up and his tyres up, but somehow manages to hold on to it and take second place back here on the final lap of the race. Nico Rosberg has got this one absolutely in the bag. He's taken off. I forgot to mention that he absolutely took off earlier on in the race, going towards the second pit stops. He managed to overcut Sainz and then sort of breeze away from for the rest of the race. But Sainz here, he's far from breezing away from Vettel. He's got to hold on till the end of the lap. Yellow flags though are out here, and there's a Williams parked to the side of the track at the end of the towards the end of Lesmo 1. It was actually Valtteri Bottas there with his puncture that he accumulated or acquired on the last lap, has not been able to get round to the pit lane. So Valtteri Bottas appears to be out of the race, but nevertheless down towards Ascari, and Sainz is just about holding on here from Sebastian Vettel. Still access of DRS despite it being quite wet out on the track. Nico Rosberg has won the race meantime, but Carlos Sainz has got to hold on for a second place. He's surely got a podium in the bag, but surely just for pride wants to hold on to this second place. Vettel's trying to go round the outside down towards the parabolica. He breaks slightly later than the Spaniard, but Sainz has the inside line. Will he just about hold on from Vettel? No, because Vettel gets better traction out of the parabolica and through the final corner with an astonishing around the outside manoeuvre. Sebastian Vettel takes second place, but Carlos Sainz Jr., the main thing is he takes his first podium of the season. It's been a long time coming, probably something he wouldn't have expected, however, in his first season here. And Carlos Sainz takes third place. It could have been second, but Sebastian Vettel, with probably the move of the season around the outside through the parabolica, just about claims second place after Nico Rosberg takes the win. But crucially for Sainz, he's going to gain all the points back that he lost in Belgium after his non-score, because Felipe Massa, Valtteri Bottas and Daniel Ricciardo, all 3 cars in front of him in the championship, did not score any points. And given that, we have an extremely mixed up order. It's an interesting podium with Rosberg, Vettel and Sainz occupying it, but Max Verstappen managed to take 4th place. So it's a Scuderia Toro Rosso 3rd and 4th position race for them. Fantastic points haul for them after Sainz gets 3rd and Verstappen gets 4th. Jenson Button up in 5th place for McLaren, with Nasser taking 6th despite going off after a few laps. Romain Grosjean takes 7th with Alonso in 8th, so a double point score for McLaren. 9th place for Marcus Ericsson, the Swede, and 10th place for Pastor Maldonado, getting their first point scores of the season. Kimi Raikkonen got a 5-second penalty. It didn't affect him too much because he didn't score anyway. Same as Bottas, same as Ricciardo, same as Felipe Massa, and of course Lewis Hamilton, who retired, who now shares the lead of the championship because of that, because Nico Rosberg was 25 points behind going into this race. He won, Lewis Hamilton didn't score, and he now is joint at the top of the standings. Raikkonen is 3rd from Vettel in 4th, with Ricciardo, Bottas and Massa all slipping backwards towards the young Spaniard Sainz. Verstappen is up into 9th place in the championship in front of Felipe Nasser and then Daniel Kvyat, who drops, Nico Hülkenberg drops down as well. But a fantastic race for guys like Romain Grosjean, for Jenson Button, for Fernando Alonso, who have done fantastically for their constructors as well when it comes to the mid-table scrap, as McLaren now leapfrog Sauber. But unfortunately, it's a bad race for Force India. Perez didn't score, and Nico Hülkenberg, despite having a lot of promise, retired from the race. So McLaren and Sauber really galloping away from them. And after a double-point score for Lotus, with Grosjean taking 7th, or taking 7th and Maldonado taking 10th, they've now got Lotus for company in the Constructors' Championship as well. It's still Mercedes, they're out in front by 72 points in front of Ferrari, Williams and Red Bull, with Toro Rosso taking a fantastic point-scoring haul there with 3rd and 4th, which you probably would not have expected at the start of the season for those guys, for us even, to have taken 3rd and 4th at any Grand Prix, but a fantastic race with an incredible set of results. If you did enjoy that absolutely insane race, feel free to drop a like. 50 likes would be absolutely awesome for another episode of this series. Comment about enjoying the video if you enjoyed it that much, and subscribe for more F1 and FIFA content in the future. But nevertheless, it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a good day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.